Welcome back to NGN. I'm Julian. I'm here with Andy Wilson of 2K Games, specifically Mafia 3. So Mafia 3, you got some big shoes to fill, because I'm going to be honest, the original Mafia, way back in 2002, was one of my favorite games on like the first PC I ever owned. So I hope you can live up to those expectations. I know, don't be worried. But I think what's most interesting about this is you've taken a departure from the traditional Italian mob now, and we've got a new leading character in a whole new setting. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've moved the time period forward into the 60s. It's a particularly interesting time period, particularly in the Deep South in the US. 1968, a very, very turbulent year.
Yeah, that was the year. That was the year MLK was assassinated, right? Yes, for the civil rights movement, and you have a biracial main character, which I think is a huge, interesting step for this franchise and video games as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. It gives us a very, very interesting story to tell. Obviously, we're not going to be shying away from any of that stuff. The game is very authentic in that sense. And then just on top of that, we wanted to tell a story that was a bit different, because there are two games in the series already where we've done the rise to power and the Italian guy rising through the ranks in a traditional mafia hierarchy. Whereas this time we've spun it slightly on its head. It was the end of the golden age of the mob in that period of time. Obviously JFK and his brother had really put a lot of pressure on the mob, and that allowed other outside influences to actually move in. And so this tale is kind of one of those stories where we've already got very, very powerful mafia element in New Bordeaux, and Lincoln, wanting revenge for the family he's lost because of those guys, actually then goes to tear the whole thing down.
So you've got New Bordeaux, right? This analog of New Orleans. You've got the bayou and the city itself. What is, such a vibrant city in such a turbulent time? How does that kind of influence the gameplay when you're making Mafia 3?
Well, we really want to have a very, very strong sense of time and place. So Mafia's always been a franchise where you get absorbed into the city that you're in. The city is sort of almost the main character in itself. So you'll see a lot of incidental stuff going on, some of it quite subtle, some of it more obvious, that kind of reflects the time period. So, you'll see protests occurring and things like that. And it's very much like, the music, the fashion, all of it feeds into making New Bordeaux feel like a real credible, living, breathing city.
It's great. I'm a big fan of 60s music, so thank you for that. And also, one of the things I saw was kind of an influence of this game, was these classic 60s era movies, particularly like driving car chase movies. Was that something you were factoring into this game too?
Yeah, you could say something like Bullet was definitely an example. We've got these really kind of powerful, throaty muscle cars in the game. That was a very brief window when those cars were kind of at their high point in the late 60s, and so we've kind of really absorbed all of that and aimed to kind of produce a driving experience which feels really kind of thrilling as well. And those kind of Hollywood action movies from the late 60s are a big influence.
Thank you guys for tuning into NGN. Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.